your terms or whatever.
Okay, it's already recording. All right, go.
Types of skills you go through.
Hello, classmates. Today I will speak about the anti-slavery mark, John Brown. John Brown is an anti-slavery mark because of his courageous attempts to free slaves and for helping abolitionists realize that with violence only the institution of slavery could finally cease. In the South, white plantation owners saw slaves as their property. Slave owners deprived slaves of their liberty and forced them to work from sunrise to night every day. On a daily basis, those who labored and picked out too little cotton were lynched. Slaveholders also raped women and sold their children. They separated entire African American families. Brown could no longer tolerate knowing slavery existed in this form. As a result, Brown decided to make a decisive strike against the institution of slavery at Harper's Ferry. Brown's goal was to incite a slave rebellion and liberate slaves. John Brown took Harper's Ferry successfully, but his plan of slave insurrection failed. Brown made an inadequate decision because he never informed slaves of his plan. Hence, when he took Harper's Ferry, no slave was prepared for an insurrection. Eventually, General Robert Lee arrested Brown, and the State Court of Virginia sentenced Brown to death. When African Americans learned about Brown's efforts to free them, they recognized him as their hero. Frederick Douglass, one of the few African American abolitionists who knew about John Brown's ambitions, but he refused to participate on John Brown's raid. However, Douglass supported and provided Brown with resources. He regarded him as the noblest American hero. Charles Langston, another abolitionist, recognized John Brown for fighting so strongly for racial equality. Langston stated, John Brown was the lover of mankind. He fully believed in the equality of man. He is the only American citizen who has actively lived up to the Declaration of Independence. George Washington Williams, a Civil War veteran, ranked John Brown among the world's greatest heroes. In the North, John Brown's devotion to the anti-slavery cause and his death convinced abolitionists that violence was the only path towards the emancipation of slavery. Abolitionist Wendell Phillips admired Brown for standing as a representative of the law, of government, of right, of justice, of religion. Henry David Thoreau, a leading abolitionist and transcendentalist, distinguished Brown as a man of rare common sense and directness of speech, as of action, a transcendentalist above all, a man of ideas and principles. Ralph Waldo Emerson, another transcendentalist, also respected John Brown. Emerson gave lectures at Boston and Concord regarding Brown as the new saint. In modern times, John Brown is still recognized for his raid at Harper's Ferry and his attempt to liberate slaves. Tony Horwitz, a journalist, in an interview about his most recent book, Midnight Rising, shared his thoughts on John Brown, the protagonist of his book. He pronounced, Horwitz considered that Brown did the right thing at Harper's Ferry in his attempt to free slaves. He pronounced, I think most of us today feel he was on the right side of history and believing slavery was a great sin of our nation and it had to be purged. He also acknowledged the major role Brown played to help abolitionists realize that with violence only, the emancipation of slavery could finally reach its end. Horwitz proclaimed, unlike most other abolitionists, he felt slavery was a state of war and must be met in kind. The Civil War suggests that he was right in believing that only bloodshed could resolve this conflict. John Brown fought to free slaves from their oppressive life. He led a raid at Harper's Ferry to create a slave insurrection. However, his plan had a major flaw. He did not inform slaves of his scheme to liberate them. As a result, when Brown captured Harper's Ferry, there was no revolt. Later, the state court of Virginia sentenced him to death. When African Americans learned about John Brown's noble fight to liberate them, they regarded him as their hero. Abolitionists also praised Brown for his brave effort at Harper's Ferry and his attempt to liberate slaves. In modern times, books are still written about John Brown and his raid at Harper's Ferry. John Brown might not live anymore, but his soul continues to march on. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.